How to brew Japanese green tea. Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver and my mission is to bring you closer to Japanese organic green tea. And today what we are going to talk about is actually how to brew your Japanese green tea. Often when you go on the internet and you look for information, often there are just very basic information like if you have a green tea, brew it at a certain temperature for this long. But this accounts then for Chinese green tea, Taiwanese green tea, Korean green tea, Japanese green tea, all the green teas out there. So I want to go a little bit deeper on how do you have to brew actually your Japanese green tea. And today what I did is that I searched a little bit on the internet, and a very good platform for tea information is Reddit. And on Reddit there's a FAQ, and also on this FAQ they have kind of a generic description. So I'm gonna go through this description and then I just gonna talk about how I brew the Japanese, or specifically the Japanese organic green tea. Good, so let's get started. Number one is, how do you actually brew the tea? Okay, one thing is heat the water in a pot or a kettle. This is what I did. I have even two different temperatures. I'll tell you later why. Then add the proper amount of tea, usually 1 teaspoon per cup, to your tea infuser. Place the tea infuser inside your teapot or mug. In Japan, what I always suggest you is really to do the Kyusu, or to use the Kyusu. Today I brought a Sencha along, a Sencha Fukamushi, so a deep steamed Sencha. This is this one here, and what I like to use is 2 teaspoons for 1 Kyusu, which you can brew then to 3 to 4 times. So when the water reaches the desired temperature, pour it over the tea infuser into your mug or teapot. This will allow the water to circulate through the leaves. Exactly. Here we have indication how to do it, just to pour the water in it. Same in Japanese, but then we have a minute, a guide for in terms of minutes. Then time your tea. This is number 4. Once the time is up, dunk the infuser a couple of times to circulate the water. Remove the infuser and set aside for a second infusion, which most leaves should be able to handle. And then they give an indication, and especially on green tea, what they say is 80 degrees, so 176 Fahrenheit, to 2 to 3 minutes. And here already, and this is quite a crucial point, these are the 2 most important points. This is how hot do I brew the tea, and with what kind of, or how long do I brew the tea. And this is here we are getting a little bit lost in terms of Japanese green tea, because Japanese green tea, and in my experience, is also that you should brew it with a temperature of around 6 degrees. You can use 80 degrees, but we're gonna hop into how the temperature is different, and then also how long do you steep the tea. With Fukamushi, for example, you only need to do it 45 seconds, and the normal time for a Sencha is 1 minute. And here Reddit talks about 2 to 3 minutes. It might be that for some Chinese and for some other green tea, you have to go to 2 to 3 minutes. Also in Japan, there are other teas which I do. I do tea Gyokuro brewing tomorrow, and tomorrow we will go also a little bit longer in time. So it really depends on the tea. So if you have a Sencha, basic rule, 45 seconds to 1 minute, depending on what kind of tea is it. If it is normal Sencha, 1 minute. Fukamushi deep steam tea, 45 seconds. So these are the basic rules of Reddit, and now what I want to discover a little bit today is this different temperature thing. So we have 2 different glasses, we have 2 different teapots, and we're just gonna use the same amount of leaves. And again, also 2 teaspoons, put this into the second Kyusu, and now just hop directly into it. Good. 60 degrees is here. And we got 80 degrees, which is here. What is interesting when you have a hotter and a colder tea is that you have the steam which is coming out of the speed of the steam. Here the steam comes much faster, and here the steam is just slower moving up. This is often how you can see if the tea water is lower at around 60 degrees or if it is at 80 degrees. Good. So we're just gonna leave it in for 45 seconds to 1 minute. Very important. Really don't give it a too long steeping. If you go to 2 to 3 minutes, I once did a video about the 3-minute brewing versus 1-minute brewing, and I could clearly note this astringency, push of astringency. You have more the catechins, flavonoids, so the more bitter particles of the tea plant coming into your water, and this is something I personally don't like too much. I only do it on a rare occasion, and this is when I am sick, because then the catechins, thanks to their detoxifying effect, are especially good. Good, so here in amount of water was around 100 milliliter. In Reddit they talk about a cup, so I often use 100 milliliters. So this is filling up the Kyusu to around this level, maybe a half of it if you want to go higher. So this is a 250 milliliter Kyusu. If you want to go higher, you can go up. 80% of filling is around 200. So you can also take 200, but 100 is just a perfect way for me how to brew it. Okay. Good. Now, what we can see is already that in terms of color, when you look closely, this one here has a little bit of a darker color. Often when you go with a hotter tea or the hotter water, the tea darkens a little bit more in its brewing, while the lightness in color, not that the intensity is different, but you seem to have a little bit more essential oils and a little bit of a lighter, and the chlorophyll and also the catechins come in a little bit later. Good. So this one here you can see a little bit brighter, a little bit more milky, and this one here a little bit darker in its green color. But now the interesting part is how do these vary in terms of taste. So when I go for the 80 degrees, I have quite a strong bitter note already in the beginning. It has some nice flavor profiles around a little bit the buttery note. So it's pushing the tea a little bit in the direction of the stringency, but still getting out quite a nice sweetness. That's why when you're going to 100 degrees, then you really start to burn the tea, and then you really have an astringent, strong astringency of the tea. Here we're around 170, 175 Fahrenheit, so around 75, 77 to 80 degrees Celsius. And it's just when you take the tea, first you have a sweetness, but then the stringency comes just on the side, and kind of your tongue really reacts with a small shaking to it. So this is 80 degrees. It's really not my preferred temperature, even to do a sencha. And also when you're in Japan, often people or the instructions aren't around this 80 degrees Celsius or 176 Fahrenheit. But for me, I like it better when you have it around 60 degrees. And now I want to dive into the 60 degrees and explain you a little bit how the taste is different. So let's go again with the 80 degrees before. Nice grassiness, nice sweetness, but quite a lot of astringency and a little bit of creaminess, a little bit of nuttiness in the end. This is how I would like to describe this tea for now. Now, second brewing, 60 degrees. Already here, what is quite interesting when you're going down with temperature, it's kind of, it gets a more of a denser, it seems like the essential oils and the theanine give the tea a little bit more of thickness, give it a little bit more of a creamy, of a silky texture, which is like a nice gliding over the top of the tongue. And this is also in terms of mouthfeel. This one here is quite liquid, quite fleeting, while here we are a little bit on the side of a beautiful kind of silky laying over the tongue. And this in terms already of texture, 60 degrees is just kind of a smoother way of preparing and of then drinking your tea. Taste wise, so we have a much of a sweeter, I get much more floral, and here the stringency kicks in directly. So I have it on the side, and it just, you have the grassiness, which is a little bit pushed more here. Then you got the stringency, which is quite strong, and then it goes over into a little bit of a creamy form of the tea. Here I take it in. I have a sweet note, so there's no grassy note, so I have more of a sweeter note, and a little bit more of a florally note, so it got much more this lighter sweetness, a little bit of the floral taste notes coming out. And also when I take it in the mouth, here when I just touch, when my tongue touches the tea, I directly with a very fast get this astringency, while here I get much more of a sweet ingoing, than you have a little bit this floral taste, and then in the end there is also a little bit of astringency with this one here. So it's because it is a little bit or slightly more astringent tea, but it kind of leaves space for the other taste to evolve, and then in the end there's a little bit of a citrusy freshness, a little bit of astringency coming in, but much lighter, much more smooth, and a much more nicer kind of a change over to this note, while here you get quite straight to the astringency. So that's why also, especially with this tea, I would suggest you to really go low in the temperature. So 60 degrees stays my personal brewing temperature, also for Sencha, and this is now often deviating from what you see on the internet, because often green tea are just broadly announced or broadly described to be brewed with 80 degrees Celsius, 176 Fahrenheit, and also with the 2 to 3 minutes, while the Japanese green tea really only needs, on the Sencha side, maximum 1 minute. Good. So this is a small introduction into the generic description on the internet and the things I suggest you to do with your Japanese green tea. And if you ever have a question, do not hesitate to ask me. If you like this video, maybe give it a like, and I hope to see you tomorrow, and see you. Bye bye. Take care.